When selling a home, it's natural to want to make it as appealing as possible for potential buyers, but not every repair or upgrade will give you a return on your investment. I'm Lauren, this is Raul, we are with the Schrader Group, and today we are going to be talking about repairs that are not worth your time or money. Raul, you are experienced in helping homeowners sell their properties. What would you say are some of the most common mistakes people put into upgrade and repairs?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake is over improving for your area or your market space, right? So if you're going to be in a $300,000 neighborhood, don't be trying to live or improve to a $500,000 neighborhood.
Right.
Because the unfortunate truth is you're not going to get that investment dollars back. And I always say we want to put a dollar where we're going to get a dollar back at least. Maintain, get your house put together. Because at the end of the day, your return on investment is important, right? I don't want you to put 50 grand in and then we barely get ask price because it checked off all your boxes, right? I want to be able to go into your home and say, let's do this, let's do that, and work on the things that matter rather than the things that won't, because at the end of the day, someone might come in and change those anyways.
What about some of the cosmetic flaws?
Yeah, so when I typically go into a home and we're getting ready to list it, I'm looking in the lens of a buyer, right? What are they going to see? And for me, deferred maintenance is one of the biggest things, and what that includes is the paint touch-ups on the walls, tidying up baseboards, caulking. Sometimes we go outside and we see some issues with the exterior trim or something like that. What I like to do is point that out because those are easy fixes, right? If you have a chip in the window because your lawnmower hit it with a rock, those are easy fixes. It costs $100, but then it's going to make your house look a lot better. So we just kind of go through and kind of say these are what's important. These items are very important, but they're huge mistakes if you don't get them taken care of, because then people are going to walk in and think, what else is wrong with the house, right? We want to make that list as tiny as possible. That way they're thinking about where they're going to put their Christmas tree, where they're going to do their celebrations, and not worry about the handprints on the walls, or not worry about the dog that's peeing in the corner on the baseboards,
Right.
So we want to take all that fear away. That way the buyer's confident to make the next move.
Yeah, and probably just the most obvious things. If there's like a hole in the wall or a broken window, like those are like mandatory things that you're going to want to have it fixed before putting the home on the market.
100%.
Kitchens and bathrooms can be deal breakers for a home. What should you do if they're outdated?
Yeah, so in the world we live in, it seems like things get outdated so quickly. But those are probably the areas where we're going to get our biggest bang for our buck. And when we focus on that, we're always talking about the primary bath and the kitchen. Why? Because that's where all the time is spent, majority, with the families. So sometimes if you have a 20-year-old house and you have the natural cabinets, it's easier just to paint them white or neutralize it a little bit. The easiest fix for most people is just changing out the hardware, right?
Yes.
You can put the jewelry, I call it jewelry, right? Put the hardware on the cabinets, even changing out the lights above you.
Big difference.
The fluorescent lights, I mean, those are some easy fixes that can make and transform your kitchen and make it look like it's something modernized without putting a whole bunch of dollars into it. But at the end of the day, it's just making it look fresh for the next buyer.
Yes, and it makes a huge difference. I mean, you can, buy some of that stuff on Amazon.
Yeah, easy. I mean, the DIY, right?
Yes.
It's one of those things that as long as you get a stencil out, because if you put the hole in the wrong space, it might be a problem. But at the end of the day, even just a light neutral paint color in that room will liven it up and make it look a lot different.
What about older but still functioning appliances? Is that necessary for them to replace, or?
Yeah, so now we're talking about something that's going to be probably 20, 30 years old, right? Because appliances are built to last for a good while, as long as they're maintained and taken care of. Now, if we look at the color, right, the type of appliance and all that good stuff, as long as it's functioning, I say let's let it be, because there's going to be more issues that might come up or more ideas that come with that. Maybe the buyer wants to come in and do a complete remodel of the kitchen, right? So why replace an appliance? So they're just going to gut it out and replace it with something else. And on our side, as a listing specialist, when we list a home, we're protecting the seller. So what we're going to do is say, hey, they're functioning as intended, they're working as intended. We're just not going to replace it because they want a stainless steel when these appliances are black.
Right.
So it just doesn't make sense because when you do the inspection report, the inspector's not going to say, hey, it's not matching appliances.
Right.
But they will say it's not functioning. And at that point, that's when things get expensive, because a repair on an appliance is sometimes just as much as replacing the whole unit to begin with. So I would say hold off on that because there's probably some other areas in the home that probably that dollar for dollar evaluation is a little bit better.
Right. Now let's talk about some of the major systems like the roof or HVAC. If these are older but they're still working, should the sellers replace them, or
Yeah, and I think that's when a trusted agent is important, because a trusted realtor will come in and give you the guidance that you need. And what I mean by that is, if you're living in a house and you know that when you're driving into the community you see 7 or 8 new roofs in the area, that probably means that there was a hailstorm and you're probably a good candidate to go ahead and get a replacement. Well, they probably don't know that, but if we did go through that process, they could get a replacement through their deductible. I mean, you guys have been paying interest for 20, 30 years. You are owed a roof, right? So you might as well take advantage of that, because then the buyer's going to see it as longevity, 25 to 30 years on that number. Now, we're in Texas, right? And especially South Texas, it gets extremely hot down here. So HVACs are probably the biggest component that people will consider when buying a house. And if it's dated, they're going to say, okay, it's dated, it's on its last leg. Well, we hear that all the time, but is it working as intended? And that's the argument that we have. But I always say, if it's on its last leg, or it looks like it's got 10 years or more on it, have that unit serviced ahead of time. That way we know what we're working with, because then we could either use that to our advantage, say, hey, it's working as intended, we replace the capacitor, we replace the compressor, whatever we've done to make the buyer feel more at home and warm and feely, because they're probably still going to ask for a home warranty. So they just need to realize that, hey, at least we're protected in case something happens, but right now everything's working as intended. And those are probably your biggest 2 ticket items on a house when it comes to any kind of malfunctions.
Right, yes. What about landscaping?
Yeah, so landscaping is that biggest overlooked item. And what I mean by that is, we always say curb appeal, put your best foot forward. Well, when we take the pictures, if it's just flat dirt everywhere and no grass, no flowers, it's going to be like, well, what's going on? It's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars to fix. But if you really think about it, there's so many easy ways to fix things. You don't have to go around with scissors, shears, and cutting the grass and looking perfect. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about putting dollars where they matter, right? That's the whole point of this conversation. So sometimes the easy fix is just getting a couple bags of mulch and just filling up a flower bed. Maybe getting those annual flowers that cost $2 to put in just for an added pop of color. Sometimes maybe just a regular pot or vase and put some color pop, right? So there's a couple things that we can navigate. But I mean, I've had people say, well, we're going to do this. We're going to do flat stone here. We're going to do xeriscaping here. And I'm like, why? I mean, it would be great if you plan on staying here for another 5 or 10 years. But if we're trying to sell it, let's get it to the point where we give options to the buyer, and the buyer realizes, hey, we have options. If we wanted to do this, it would be great. But if not, we can move right in. We can host a party in 2 weeks after we move. We can have the piñata up front, and everything will be great. But at the end of the day, I think that less is more, and not trying to overcomplicate those items is probably the key thing. Now, I do say that everything has to be organized, right? If you're in the backyard, don't have soccer balls all over the place. Don't have, a goalie set in the middle or anything like that. Put things away. Make sure everything looks nice, fresh, and crisp. But don't overcomplicate it by putting, trees or palm trees or anything that you're going to put into, because if we're in the summertime, there's a good chance they're not going to make it to the wintertime.
Right. Just clean curb appeal.
Clean.
Yes.
Yep.
What would you say is the least expensive thing you can do to get your home ready to sell?
Yeah, deep cleaning and decluttering. I think that's like #1 across the board. I always tell my clients, act like you're going to have a party or your boss is coming over. It's amazing how that house gets put together for a quick 24 hours and then it kind of falls back down. If we don't have the dollars to put into certain things like deferred maintenance and all these other items to get ahead of the game, the least way we could get into that is just making your home look inviting, right? And make sure everything's in place. You don't want to open a closet and everything just falls down on you.
Right.
Let's declutter it. Maybe it goes into the garage, or maybe we have to get to that point where we have to have a conversation, or we might need to get a temporary storage so that you have more room, because remember, buyers want less in their way so they can view what's in front of them.
Right.
And I think that at the end of the day, that's probably the easiest, most cost-effective route.
Yes, I always say declutter the kitchen and the bathrooms for sure.
100%. And figure out what to do with the toy room.
Yes. When do you recommend contacting a realtor?
Early is best. Whenever I do my listings, I try to get there as soon as possible, and then we get a game plan. We get a plan in place to where we're going to be like, look, we're going to have the stager come over in 2 weeks, and then we're going to have a photographer right after that, and then we're going to hit the market. And if you do all these steps, now you have the best first impression, and in this tough market, impressions matter.
Not every repair upgrade will help increase your home's value or help you sell it faster. Please reach out if you have any questions and subscribe to our channel to learn more. Experience matters. So if you're looking to get some more information or get that consultation to get to the point of listing your home, please feel free to reach out to the Schrader Group. Y'all have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.